I gave an AI agent read-only access to 3 parts of my workday: my calendar, my inbox, and my task list. It surfaced an account-related notice and a possible security or authorization notice inside a 20-message sample. That was useful. Then it found a much bigger problem. My calendar showed 0 events, while my task board showed 15 items dated today. That contradiction is the difference between a useful AI assistant and a confident liar. This was not a simulated productivity demo. In the read-only run, the calendar returned 0 events, the inbox sample contained 20 messages, and the task board contained 16 dated items across today and tomorrow. The candidate brief surfaced account and verification signals, flagged a communication task that had no matching calendar event, and proposed a priority order that I approved for this day. But it could not know whether the empty calendar meant free time or missing data. So the real question is not whether AI can produce a morning summary. It is what an AI chief of staff needs to prepare a real decision safely. Here is the 5-layer system, what the test could infer, and the smallest version I would trust. First, we need a useful definition. A chatbot answers the question you type. A real chief of staff does something harder. It watches multiple sources, notices what changed, ranks competing demands, points out missing context, and prepares decisions for the operator. That means a daily summary is not enough. If the system simply says you have 15 tasks and 20 emails, it has compressed the problem without solving it. The useful output is closer to this. Review this deadline first, verify this account activity, schedule this call because it is missing from the calendar, and batch these low-value alerts later. But every recommendation also needs a reason, a source, and a confidence level. Without those, polished pros can hide bad judgment. The system I tested has 5 layers. Layer 1 is sources, calendar, inbox, and task board. Layer 2 is collection. Read a small bounded window instead of downloading your entire digital life. Layer 3 is normalization. Turn an email, a meeting, and a task into the same basic object with a date, source, consequence, and status. Layer 4 is prioritization. Rank the object using explicit operator rules rather than whatever sounds urgent. Layer 5 is the brief, a short review queue that separates facts, AI inference, and the human decision. This structure matters because most assistant demos jump directly from access to action. They connect an inbox, add a prompt, and celebrate when the model produces a schedule. The dangerous decisions are hidden between those steps. For the first version, all 3 connections were read-only. The agent could inspect a bounded calendar window, recent inbox results, and dated tasks. It could not send email, click a payment or authorization link, create a meeting, move a deadline, or mark anything complete. This is not an artificial limitation. It is the safest way to learn whether the judgment is good before giving the system power. An assistant that recommends the wrong priority wastes a minute. An assistant that sends the wrong reply or moves the wrong deadline creates a business problem. Read access and action access are different products. Test the judgment before testing the power. Next, every item needs the same minimum fields: where it came from, a sanitized label, the observed date or deadline, why it matters, a link back to the source, a confidence level, and a recommended operator action. This prevents the model from treating an aggressive email subject line as stronger evidence than a real task deadline. It also makes contradictions visible. A task may say, "Call today," while the calendar contains no call. An email may say "final warning," even though it is promotional. 2 billing messages may describe 1 review event, not 2 separate emergencies. Normalization is not glamorous, but it is where an AI assistant stops being a pile of summaries and starts becoming a system you can audit. My priority policy is explicit. First come hard deadlines, service interruptions, and irreversible consequences. Second are security, authorization, payment, and verification items that require review. Third are external commitments involving another person or organization. Fourth is work that blocks another workflow. Fifth is planned publishing and project execution. Personal routines, newsletters, alerts, and informational noise come later or get batched. There is also a penalty for weak evidence. If the only sign of urgency is marketing language, the item loses confidence. If a task only has a date but no consequence, the agent can recommend review, but it cannot invent a crisis. This is the operator's judgment converted into rules. Another person should use a different policy. The model is not discovering universal priorities. It is applying a policy you can inspect and change. The details explain why the brief needed a policy. The calendar query covered a bounded 48-hour window. The inbox sample excluded the standard promotional and social categories, but a large share was still noise. Newsletters, repeated alerts, commercial offers, and automated notifications. Inside that noise were account continuity, billing, possible security or authorization, and verification signals worth reviewing. The task board returned 15 items dated today, including one completed item, plus one item dated tomorrow. The candidate brief recommended grouping related messages, suppressing low-value notifications, and reviewing deadline-sensitive administration, account and security items, external communication, publishing work, then routines. Filters alone did not create a trustworthy brief. The ordering only became meaningful after applying an explicit policy and getting operator approval. The most useful result was not the priority list, it was the contradiction. The calendar looked completely open, but the task board contained a planned call and many dated commitments. A naive assistant could interpret 0 events as 8 available working hours and fill the day with new tasks. That would be a confident mistake. The correct response is not to silently resolve the conflict. It is to flag a scheduling gap. This communication task has no matching calendar block. Is the task stale? Is the calendar incomplete? Or does the operator still need to schedule it? The AI cannot know from these sources. A trustworthy system makes that uncertainty visible. An untrustworthy one turns missing data into a confident plan. 4 guardrails made this test usable. 1. Every recommendation must link back to a source. 2. Facts and inferences must look different on screen. The source says a task is dated today. The AI infers that it may be urgent. Those are not the same statement. 3. Confidence drops when sources conflict or context is missing. 4. The first output is a review queue, not an autonomous schedule. The system may suggest a time block, but the operator approves it. The same rule applies to email. Drafting is different from sending. These boundaries sound conservative because they are. The point of an AI chief of staff is not to maximize the number of actions performed without you. It is to improve the quality and speed of the decisions that still belong to you. If you want to build this, start smaller than the demos suggest. Choose one calendar, one inbox query, and one task list. Limit the window to today and tomorrow. Ask the system to output no more than 5 priorities, 3 conflicts, and a short batch list. Require a source reference and confidence label for every item. Then, review the output for a week. Mark each recommendation correct, wrong, or missing. Do not add sending, scheduling, or task mutation until the read-only brief consistently reflects your real priorities. Implementation depends on each tool's available connectors and read-only controls. The tool matters less than the contract. Bounded sources, explicit policy, visible uncertainty, and human approval are the product. Would I use this every morning? Yes, as a briefing assistant. Not yet as an autonomous chief of staff. The test showed that a review queue could surface actionable signals amid inbox noise and expose missing scheduling context. It did not prove that the system can understand every consequence or safely control the workday. That distinction is the real lesson. AI agents become useful when they can see enough context to prepare a decision. They become dangerous when access is mistaken for judgment. Make the model show its evidence. Turn your priorities into explicit rules. Then let the system earn more responsibility, one permission at a time. This is the version of AI education I want to keep testing on this channel. Not a perfect demo, but a real workflow, real contradictions, and a decision you can reuse. The next useful test is not whether the agent can generate a prettier brief. It is whether the same policy survives 7 different workdays without hiding important context. That is the standard an AI chief of staff should have to meet before it gets anywhere near your calendar, inbox, or business decisions. Subscribe if you want to see that test with the failures left in.